In 2015, I retired at age 65. I bought myself a DR650, some Moscow equipment for camping, and headed across on the Trans-America Trail, camping most all along the way. Since that time, nearly 10 years later, and many camping experiences off of my motorcycle, I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you on the advantages and disadvantages of motorcycle camping. Stick around. Motorcycle camping offers some unique and thrilling experiences for adventure motorcycling enthusiasts. In this video, we want to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages, touch briefly on equipment guidelines. The first advantage that comes to mind, perhaps the most important, is freedom and flexibility. Riding a motorcycle takes you into off the beaten path locations, and when you're carrying the essentials with you, your shelter, food, and water, you can change up your destination on a whim. You can decide to stay where you're at or continue on as long as you wish without making reservations, particularly on Bureau of Land Management land and U.S. Forest Service land. Out in the West, you can camp almost anywhere along the trail. You can take detours, you can change your routing on a whim. Just overall, gives you a greater flexibility and a sense of freedom. Close on the heels of freedom and flexibility is number 2, adventure and thrills. Motorcycle camping combines the thrill of the open road along with the tranquility of camping. The sense of adventure is heightened when you are riding through diverse landscapes. You have a closer connection with the smells and the sounds of nature. Camping under the stars with a campfire, it adds a dimension to adventure motorcycling that I think is very hard to beat. Since you're on a bike, you'll be more attuned to the surroundings that you're riding through. The ride itself is way more immersive, and you're more likely to encounter scenic views and wildlife along the way. This closer connection to nature is just heightened that much more when you're camping. Another major advantage of camping off your motorcycle, it gives you access to remote locations. With a motorcycle, you can get to remote camping spots that are maybe too far or too difficult to reach with other types of vehicles. And many riders love the challenge of reaching the hard to reach places that aren't so accessible by others. This gives you a unique opportunity to enjoy some rare sights and encounter nature you may not otherwise encounter. Motorcycle campers often share a sense of community. Many motorcycle groups and clubs, events exist specifically for riders who enjoy camping. Rallies often involve camping together with others for a weekend or more. So you can meet like-minded people, bond over a shared experience. And if there's just a couple or 3 of your friends out on the trail, what a blast it can be to share the fun times and the difficulties that come involved with camping. And there can be some disadvantages. We'll get to those later on. Motorcycle camping encourages a minimalist lifestyle. You have limited space on your motorcycle for gear, teaches you to prioritize the essentials. Now, the essentials is always an argument between who wants the kitchen sink and who wants to just have their toothbrush with them. So that's something that each of you have to decide. But regardless, you are a minimalist if you motorcycle camp. This can be liberating, and it allows you to focus on enjoying nature rather than worrying about material things. Now, it is true that you have to make an investment, and there's a certain amount of material goods that goes into making this all possible, but in the scheme of things, it's not that much money for the return. Let's talk about the physical and mental benefits of camping off your motorcycle. First off, riding a motorcycle requires focus and requires balance, which can be mentally and physically engaging. If you're experiencing some depressive moods, or there's a lot on your mind from work or your marriage or relationships, getting out on the bike is therapy all in itself. As we say, it's wind therapy. But camping adds another dimension to it. While it's physically engaging to ride the bike, once you arrive at your destination, you're setting up camp and gathering firewood, you're making your own dinner, you're living the minimalist lifestyle and doing so, conserving water, finding water, all these basic needs that you're focusing on. And once you arrive and you start setting up your tent, for me, there's just something very satisfying about having my night's dwelling and my sleeping bag all tucked away and knowing I'm going to climb in there, spend the night out in nature. So you may go hiking, you may access other benefits that are in your area where you're camping that further enhance your physical activity and your well-being. Okay, let's talk about cost effectiveness, camping versus motels. Motels these days are going to be $125, $135 a night typically. You might find one for $60 to $70 if you're willing to put up with a little less cleanliness, let's say. If I stay in a hotel, that's what I stay in. But camping, especially on government BLM land, is free. You might pay, $10 to $20, maybe even $30 at a private campground. Quite a bit of savings. All this means more gas money, which allows you to travel longer, have a more lengthy adventure, and save some money to stay in a little nicer hotel when it's time to just relax, cool off, warm up, wash that grime off of you in a nice shower. So, camping from your motorcycle has a lot of advantages, but it has some drawbacks too. So, let's talk about some of those disadvantages. So, one of the first issues that comes to mind is comfort issues. Traveling on a motorcycle for long periods of time is fatiguing in itself. So, obviously, camping, if you're not used to sleeping on the ground, the other issues that come with discomforts of camping, the weather, whatnot, which we'll talk about a little later, can cause comfort issues. If you're not comfortable, you're not enjoying yourself. Motorcycles don't offer a lot of room for packing gear. So what is overpacking to you, what it is to another person, comes right down to what you're willing to put up with and what you consider is necessary for you to be comfortable and safe. You need to be very selective in what you bring, because it can be a hassle to pack light, but you still want to be prepared. It kind of depends on the kind of motorcycle you're riding and the kind of terrain you're planning to tackle. Another way to approach your motorcycle camping is if you have or want to invest in a toy hauler, whereas you've got a combined trailer to take your motorcycle in and have sleeping quarters, maybe some cooking quarters, all combined in one, or maybe a pickup camper, and you set up a base camp, which then you ride out and enjoy day rides and return back to camp. So going along with the comfort issues is weather. Weather vulnerability when you're camping is certainly an issue, and unlike cars or your pickup camper, motorcycles leave you exposed to the elements. So you've got to be prepared for that. Sometimes the temperatures in the desert can be extremely hot. In the mountains, you can ride right on up there from where you were nice and warm to camp where it's frosty and maybe even freezing overnight. So these are issues to think about. Weather can be actually an unsafe condition if you're not prepared for it. Cold, hypothermia, and heat exhaustion. These are issues that you need to be aware of. Consider the weather before you head out. Have rain gear. Have plenty of water. Seek shelter early. Know when you've hit your limitations. Safety concerns with weather. So let's talk about safety concerns. People write to me on my YouTube channel often and they'll say, do you have encounters or are you afraid of camping and bears? Well, for me, I'm not really concerned about it. I'm aware, but I'm not concerned. I want to stay away from grizzly country if at all possible. It's rare, but there is that issue there. When it comes to black bears, just take the ordinary precautions, look up and study and be aware of bear country and the provisions for staying safe around them. I'm really more concerned with two-legged animals. Today's society, with the drug culture and people disenchanted with their life, they've moved out into the woods. Sometimes they're roaming around in places you wouldn't expect them to be. Just be prepared legally to think about dealing with unruly or perhaps slightly cuckoo people. So rough terrain. Depending on the kind of bike you're riding, the kind of terrain you're planning to tackle, whether you're on a large adventure, more touring style adventure bike, or you're on a dual sport, that all makes a big difference when you're carrying camping gear. Being overloaded and tackling rough terrain and being on a bike that's just carrying day provisions is a whole different animal. So think about what kind of terrain and the kind of bike you're riding on, what you want to tackle. That can depend on whether you're going to carry camping gear or not. Solo in a heavily loaded bike can be a real challenge if you go down. So riding with another partner can take away some of those disadvantages. Tiredness and fatigue. Man, I'm tired. I was thinking I would push on to Wellington and get supper at a restaurant there, but that's still a good hour and a half away. Riding for long hours, carrying gear on a loaded bike on rough terrain is physically exhausting and can lead to fatigue that might affect your enjoyment and energy levels once you've arrived at camp, because work is still ahead of you. So took a little nap, ate something, slept almost an hour, just laid out on the ground, pitching the tent, maybe gathering firewood, making something to eat. Camping tonight, we're going to need some additional water. Seeking water, filtering water, all these things require more energy and might affect how you enjoy your ride. So, you know, what can you do about that? I'd say stop earlier. Make sure that you're not pushing too far into the day. So I don't think I'm going to even set up the tent tonight. It's a beautiful night. Let's hope that's not a mistake. Potato chowder soup, that's what's for dinner. Another key disadvantage is time element. It does take time to both set up and take down a camp. This can be an enjoyable experience, but if you are in bad weather, then setting up a tent is the last thing that you're looking forward to doing. Taking down a tent, packing everything away, getting your food preparation done, even if it's just making coffee, very time consuming. So if you have a heavy dew, there's frost or, God forbid, rain on your tent, and you've got to pack up in the rain or even put away a wet tent. Very time consuming and not a fun chore. On the flip side, you have the advantage of not having to pack up and leave a hotel, hit pavement, and ride to the trail. You're already on the trail, ready to roll. That's an advantage. Okay, let's talk very briefly about basic guidelines on camping gear. Light but efficient. I like to sleep in a two-man tent, even though it's just me. A two-man tent allows me to have a little extra room to put my gear inside with me and still have room to sleep comfortably. I have a very nice down bag, which I really like. It opens up into a full blanket, so it can become just a big down comforter, and then it zips into this, which becomes then a mummy type bag. This is like a sheet, so that really works well. I've used that for a long time. Here's a Sea to Summit inflatable pillow. That works really good for me too. Okay, air mattresses. Super important. I've gone through many air mattresses, and these from Sea to Summit has worked for me really well for quite a while. So the important thing about an air mattress is whether it's insulated or not. I've used non-insulated air mattresses, and the cold seeps right through. Even in the summertime, the ground can be cold. So getting an insulated air mattress has made a world of difference for me in having a comfortable night's sleep. I just use the tiniest little stove. All I want to do is boil some water. The jet boil is very popular. You don't need to do anything but boil some water. Usually camp food is a simple affair. That's the pros and cons of camping as I've covered them. Let me know down below if I've missed anything or you would like to add something. I'm sure we didn't cover it all, but it's a subject dear to my heart. I love camping. I love adventure motorcycling. So thank God you're alive and enjoy the ride. I'll see you out there.